Yeah, so the story goes, was it last December? A gal named Natalie from Simplicity came by and we had a good demo. Actually, not a demo, but a presentation by her and a nice recap of where Simplicity was. And then I think it was like February. That's when we got the news that Simplicity was acquired by HPE and Natalie disappeared. So that's really the story behind Simplicity. And then I haven't spoken about HPE and I guess your current version of Simplicity since. So what I wanted today was maybe an overview of where things are from an integration perspective between Simplicity and HPE, and maybe some roadmap information and just some education would be really nice today. That's really all I'm looking for.
So the presentation I have prepared is more of like kind of like a golden pitch about Simplicity. So hope it's
Great.
not identical to something that you've seen before. And just for reference, Kurt and Travis, and I can stop recording if not. Since being new, I've been kind of recording my calls just for myself as reference to go back and listen to see, hit points that I missed or things that I can kind of tweak. Is that okay with you guys?
Sure, sure. Fine with.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, I just thought I'd let you guys know. But yeah, I'm going to share my screen here. And Kurt, you haven't seen a demo of Simplicity, or you have?
It was more PowerPoint
Okay.
demo. So
Okay.
I kind of got the gist of it, but if you have something different.
Yeah, and the next step, this was just to kind of get back reacquainted, any kind of updates over the last year, and what we're hopefully going to be able to schedule for maybe not next week, but that kind of the first full week in January is more of that, not just a PowerPoint presentation, maybe even, showing the GUI and anything else that we can do, and more of a technical deep dive, I think, into the solution is what I think we're hoping to be able to put together next, again, maybe in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, most definitely. So the way I built the presentation was probably 10 to 15 minutes talking about Simplicity, and then the remainder of the time actually going into vCenter and showing you Simplicity and how it looks in VMware. And then, those next steps, Travis, I know I kind of am kind of getting ahead just a little bit, but hoping that we can bring in and talk about the composable fabric piece with HP's new acquisition of Plexi, and bringing that true composable infrastructure or hyperconverged, not composable, I'm thinking synergy, but composable infrastructure from the data center, networking, storage, all into one pitch.
Yeah. Perfect.
Okay.
Perfect.
So do you guys see my screen here? Should see a helicopter.
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm hoping here to cover, obviously, HP Simplicity is the industry's most powerful hyperconverged platform with best-in-class data services. So with HP Simplicity, I'm going to talk about the data virtualization platform. So that's the OmniStack accelerator card that does the inline dedupe and compress. So it takes away from that CPU overhead and taking that dedupe and compress on a separate card. And then the global VM-centric management and mobility, the built-in resiliency, backup, and the disaster recovery, kind of talk about that a little bit, and then go over the guaranteed data efficiency. And then I have a couple of use cases and customers in the PowerPoint. They're just really quick hits. And then hopefully, if you need more, I can send a link out that has some additional information or customer success stories. Let me see here. Just hit next. Let me get back to my screen here. All right. So Natalie probably had a similar presentation like this where, because every storage presentation has some data-related piece, chart showing that your data is growing. What is your uptime requirement? The SLA that you give your business, you're probably saying less than an hour of downtime you can tolerate. How many folks can deliver on that? Really not that many. Do you know when's the last time you tested your disaster recovery, Kurt?
We don't test our DR here.
Okay.
We do a little bit of DR just from a storage perspective, but we don't really test restoration or operations restore. No, we don't do that here.
Okay. I do have a piece in presentation that talks about the rapid DR piece of SimpliVity. So I'll touch on that. Just
Okay.
it's part of the presentation. It just kind of flows, I think.
Yeah.
So back in 2016, if you remember, Delta had an outage that grounded planes for a day. Before the downtime, if you asked the CIO of Delta how fast he could recover from an outage, his reply would probably be less within 15 minutes. They can turn around and get back up. And it turned out it was more than about 15 hours. So, the business is demanding more than IT can deliver, and IT can oftentimes overestimate their ability to deliver. This piece right here, if you're the storage guy, and you went into your annual review and said, hey, I did my backups every day for the last year. How many people are going to receive a promotion for that? Well, that is something that is given, but if you can go into your review with something that impacts the business, so let's say before SimpliVity, 16% of new time spent on new applications and projects, and then after SimpliVity, you're getting a 81% increase in time spent on new innovation and new projects, and then on the backup side, you're nearly a 50% decrease in time spent in backup and disaster recovery. So you're helping grow, you're helping generate revenue, and having time spent on things that impact the business. So if you look at hyperconvergence, and it's really just taking the entire data stack and simplifying it, collapsing it down to these horizontally scalable devices to make process as simple as possible. Wrapping a layer around complexity doesn't make the complexity go away. You can try and hide it, but inevitably it just pokes at you. If you truly eliminate the complexity and solve the problem, not by just making provisional something simple, but making the problem completely go away, now you can impact the environment. So if you take servers and storage and all the devices in a typical rack of infrastructure and data center and all that data protection, data management applications, and collapsing down, that is what HP is going after. That is a problem we're solving with the HP SimpliVity 380 solution, and that's based off our DL 380 blades out there. So the key takeaway is HP SimpliVity simplifies the data center by incorporating multiple functions into a single building block center of Proliance that can easily expand and includes all functionality management through the native hypervisor management interface that you use, which I believe is VMware, correct?
Yeah, correct. VMware, yeah.
So I can't share this particular customer's name, but this is a true customer. It's a Fortune 50 company wanting to reduce their global data footprint. All their DR was in region because it was too expensive to cross regions. So within Asia, Europe, and the US, they were looking for a massive reduction. So this is before SimpliVity. It's 6 data centers across the globe, 80 plus racks of traditional infrastructure and silos of IT resources. After going with SimpliVity, they were able to reduce the complexity and provide real-time business value. They went down from 6 to 3 data centers, and within one of those data centers, they were going down from 34, and it's actually to 3.5 racks in their environment. So HP customers are happily running a wide variety of tier 1 applications, and not just running a few applications, but other applications of the core business. And this part is the DVP platform, so the data virtualization platform. This enabling technology that makes it all happen is a handful of things. It's the idea of delivering all these services to the VM administrator, delivering the simplified process, defining policies at the VM level, and managing this across your global footprint. So policies are simple as protecting the workloads in your environment. All the DR, all the resiliency is built in. It's part of the core functionality of the product, and it's done very effectively. Dedupe is at the core, and the HP SimpliVity data virtualization platform delivers the inline dedupe without performance penalty. And there in the more technical presentation, it actually goes into that DVP and how that kind of looks on for the customer standpoint. The HP OmniStack Accelerator Card offloads that dedupe and compress from the host CPUs, maximizing the available CPUs for running the business application. So like doing that backup, instead of doing it like at night, you can actually do it throughout the day without really impacting the CPU. By deduplicating and compressing all data in line with the hardware accelerator card offload engine, HP SimpliVity can provide significant advantage in terms of performance without actually compromising the performance of the application VMs running on the same hardware platform. So that just goes back into where you're doing those backups throughout the day, and you're not going to affect that performance of that VM. The HP SimpliVity is a software-defined data solution designed to provide the VM center management with the global visibility and mobility, the resiliency and data protection needed in the modern IT infrastructure. The data efficiency really allows the HP SimpliVity to provide a true unique data management platform. So HP SimpliVity, the operational experience, simplifies the operational experience, and you spend less time keeping the lights on and more time on innovation. So impact on the business is that VM administrator just applies a policy to the workload. It's three simple things. It's how often do I protect it, how long do I keep the backup for, and where do I send it to. And then when I get into showing you the demo, I'll show you where that backup policy looks, and it's just really three simple things there: that how often do I protect it, how long do I keep the backup for, and where do I send it. And if you change the configuration of the cluster, there's going to be no problem. The federation communicates all that, and all you need is to find the policies on there. So if you look at the impact of the built-in resiliency, backup, and disaster recovery, over 50% of our customers end up retiring the backup and DR applications when implementing SimpliVity. I believe people typically would use maybe a backup appliance if they're looking to back up outside the SimpliVity node. And we are partnered with Veeam, and we can always get you a quote on that, what that looks like if you're looking to back up outside the SimpliVity federation. Then SimpliVity layers on the built-in resiliency, backup, and DR. SimpliVity is actually taking a full logical backup with near zero overhead, because you're only sending information that's changed. So you can back up every few hours or often as needed. With HP, you do get like a hyper guarantee, and part of that hyper guarantee is you're going to be able to restore a 1 terabyte VM in under 60 seconds. And I'll go into like cloning and backing up a VM, and I'll kind of simulate kind of like a disaster, and then you like just rebooting up a VM from a backup, and how fast that is. So the key takeaway is that data protection is a key component of the HP SimpliVity, and customers see a dramatic improvement, improved ability to meet their SLAs. So HP SimpliVity functionality is enabled by the always-on dedupe and compress, which enables a 90% capacity savings across the primary and backup storage with no trade-offs to performance, since it's offloading, once again, that data efficiency operations to the HP OmniStack Accelerator card. The data is effectively, and what enables all of this is, that customer example I showed you on that Fortune 50 customer. And our customers' average data efficiency is 50 to 1. Now this goes into the rapid DR piece. Really quick on this is that the rapid DR reduces the complexity around disaster recovery by streamlining the DR process. So example of streamlining, the rapid DR provides a streamlined process for developing an automated disaster recovery plan that can be later executed to recover VMs at the DR site in a automated fashion with very minimal user interaction. This also be the ability to specify which VMs to fail over to DR site in what order, and with what configuration. So when executed, the DR plan will handle majority of the tasks needed to recover their environment at the DR site, such as restoring the VMs from backups, attaching them to new networks, and configuring appropriate network settings with the VM. And it's available. The operational software license pack products are sold in 25 VMs or 100 VM license pack. One of the customer examples in the past, this one customer had like a 300-page recovery plan with Rapid DR. He was able to take that 300-page recovery plan down to 3 pages, and with the built-in button into Rapid DR, he just set up my recovery plan, tells you every change it's going to make in the environment, every IP address it's going to change. So at 3 in the morning, when that failed event happens, he just hits a button and you're all backed up. So SimpliVity provides you that single vendor tool that takes advantage of the SimpliVity data efficiency to improve those RTOs and reduce risk. So the top use cases for SimpliVity, data center consolidation, RBO, VDI, private cloud infrastructures, and customers gain large secondary benefits when tier 1 applications and data protection are test dev use cases or pain points. We have over 10,000 systems shipped globally across all segments. Here's just a few of the customers. So there you can see HP SimpliVity has a variety of happy customers across the many verticals and sizes. Two of the customers that I have listed here is Red Bull and Francis Drilling. Francis Drilling had their entire infrastructure on blades, tape drives, backup software. And with HP SimpliVity, they just went to a couple of nodes of hyperconvergence and taken all that complexity out. One of the cool things, Red Bull, so they're pulling data off race cars, and it would typically take about 550 seconds for several laps of data. When they implemented using a SimpliVity box, they were able to pull that data out in 139 seconds. Wow. And so 79% performance boost with SimpliVity, and their logical volumes were 42 terabytes down to 5 terabytes and nine times reduction in I/O in capacity. So pretty neat. In racing, more seconds matters. So after SimpliVity here, so before SimpliVity, after SimpliVity here, you have number jump from 6% to 63%. In fact, across the board, recovery times with SimpliVities are greatly reduced. SimpliVity's ability to shrink recovery times is a remarkable contrast, what you see in the rest of IT, where recovery times are just shifting out instead of in. And HP's SimpliVity has dramatically improved the data recovery with the majority of our customer, and that's the core value prop for SimpliVity. So that was a quick pitch. I know it's like really quick, spit out 16 minutes, I believe is the clock I have here. Any questions? I mean, if there's a question I don't have an answer to, I can always send it over.
No, it's cool. It was a good overview, and my meeting with Natalie was actually 2 hours, and
wow,
she went into. She was actually pretty darn good, just to be honest. And I complimented her on the fact that she was able to do what our engineers were doing.
Yeah.
So that's really caught my eye, but it was also very comparable to what I know of Nutanix and some of your other hyperconvergence competitors. So it was good to know that there were options to consider, because that was the first time I actually sat in front of SimpliVity and was able to view that. But I appreciate your client portfolio. That was good to see that it was being more and more accepted as a hyperconvergence platform for those organizations. And then I don't know if you have any business cases from any of those clients that you could share even verbally, how instead of the metrics, how it kind of helped transform their organizations, or how they're more successful because of their conversion to SimpliVity. And then something more down the road, what is HPE's vision on hyperconvergence and use of SimpliVity's technology as part of the HPE's enterprise portfolio?
Okay, I am definitely taking some notes here to get some information back to you.
So those would be the key questions. And when your HPE rep actually connects with me, he he's more on the server side and hardware side, which is totally fine. And I think he was kind of getting into more of the transformative technologies that HPE has. And
Yeah.
I went to your, is it HPE Live? Is that what that was? Back in Las Vegas earlier this year, HPE Live, or it was a conference that HP.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. It's one of the big ones
Yeah,
that we have.
it
Yeah,
was
I forget the
pretty
exact
eye
name of it.
opening. It was pretty eye opening, and it was a lot that I needed to digest, and I did a very poor job digesting because it was just overwhelming. I didn't
Mhm.
expect, because I went there without an agenda, and I think that was by design. Because I told my rep at the time that I didn't have any specific needs or wants or even curiosity about HPE, so I was gonna just go and try to absorb as much as I can, not realizing how big the portfolio was. So if I ever get back there, then I would have more targeted. I would have more targets, and I would have more targeted discussions, hopefully, and get a lot more out of it from you guys. That
Yeah,
comes around.
yeah, true. And one of the things that I asked my manager, I have a new boss now,
Yeah,
was
yeah.
was the conversations that Natalie had. Being able to have a 2-hour conversation on SimpliVity would be nice, and that's right now they kind of equipped us to have the high level overview, bring the solution architect come in to kind of build out the platform or have those kind of deep dive conversations. So you have like Matthew, the inside rep that you probably spoke to, that is more like the generalist, has an overview of the product, and then you have specialists that are just defined into one category. So you have like hyperconverged and composable, which I'm trying to get more technical on the composable and hyperconverged platform, and I'm learning. So coming from HP, it's pretty eye-opening, and from selling computers to and printers to actually big ticket items in the server world. So I'm sure you heard that we acquired Plexi.
Plexi, yes.
Yeah. So that's going to be really nice with the integration with SimpliVity. You're going to have that single pane of glass with the networking piece too, and that's when we can bring in maybe Murtaugh over on the Plexi side to kind of have that composable fabric is what we're going to call it, conversation around the networking piece.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. So do you see my vCenter up? vSphere?
I don't. Do you have another?
Let me see. Oh, okay. Manage. Present.
Did I hear you correctly that you're an HPE, you're a former HP person, or did you come from?
Yeah, former HP. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. I just came over back in April of last year.
Okay.
Yeah. I'd actually gone up to Seattle quite a bit. I was supporting an account up in that area and out in Auburn. But do you see it now?
I do.
Okay. So this is let me go here to home. This is a vSphere web client that you know and love.
Okay.
With HPE SimpliVity, you have this new icon here, the SimpliVity Federation. You kind of click on that. Here you can see your topology. You have the local cluster, and then you have the remote cluster, and within those clusters you have 2 and 1 nodes and the respective virtual machines that are sitting on each machine. Here you have the backup policies. So creating a backup policy is as easy as hitting create backup policy and create rule. And it's just your frequency, how long you're going to retain your backups for, and where you're going to keep it. There's an advanced tag here if you're looking, for like databases. But I'm not going to kind of dive into that and click on that or create a rule today. I just kind of show you kind of where that piece is at. Let's see, now if I go here to hosting clusters, go here to monitor, I can see let me see, I think I need to click on local cluster. Monitor, and here's where I can see my HP SimpliVity capacity. So here's my logical capacity. So I got 8.8 terabytes of VM data. I have over 1,000 terabytes of local backups. My remote cluster is backing up about 200 terabytes, so the data stored is about 1,200 terabytes. But here you have my actual use capacity is just 9.8 terabytes that are being stored. Here's your savings. Physical, the dedupe 85.3 times the compression of 1.5. You're seeing here on this particular federation that I'm getting 129 to 1 efficiency on this federation here. Now, if I go in here, I can go into one of the VMs, go to summary here. I can go here, right click on it, all SimpliVity actions. This is where you want to do, because you don't want to use the VM policies up here and their actions. You want to use the SimpliVity actions here when you're backing up and cloning and moving, editing, anything like that, or you would do it right here or search for backups. So say I want to back up this virtual machine. Let's actually clone it first. Oh, actually this is the wrong VM. I meant to do this one right here. So just click on clone virtual machine. Just give a quick. So you can see here, right down here at the bottom in the recent task, that clone, that VM took about 7 seconds to clone just a under half terabyte VM. And here's the VM right here. So I'm gonna click on this one and back that one up. Just right click it on SimpliVity actions, backup virtual machine. I'm gonna back that up to the remote cluster. So you can see there where it only took about 4 seconds to back up my SimpliVity VM to my remote backup, or my remote cluster. So let's pretend like this this VM, see here, went down. So I'm just going to delete it from disk. So I'll just pretend that this cluster went down and I need to restore that on my remote cluster. All right, so I need to delete this one. Excuse me, I gotta just do some maintenance here. I gotta delete the one I did earlier. Do that later. So just go here, search for my backups. There it is right there. Backup action. Store virtual machine. Destination, my remote cluster. And there it is. My restored VM under my recent task was able to restore in less than 3 or 4 seconds right over here. That's from recovering it and then registering the virtual machine. Now, let's say the next thing I want to show you is, let me power on the VM. You have someone that calls you up that said they deleted a file on this machine here. So very important file that actually says do not delete. So let me open up the console here and simulate them deleting that actual file. So they go in here, they accidentally delete this file, they give your support team a call to get that to restore. It's just as simple as going back in, right clicking here, simplicity actions, search backups, finding that particular backup of that VM or the last backup. Oh, sorry, I must have clicked something. Okay. And they just go to restore files here. Hit next. Obviously, they're going to have to know where that file was so they can report that back. Then the IT guy would just kind of go down here and drill in, find that file. Click on it, hit next. Where that file is, or where that VM is residing. And once it's done, you should be able to go back in to the machine, and it's going to mount it as a drive. So
Okay.
DV drive right here. They would just click on it, open it up, and put it back in, and that's it. So that was a real quick, demo of SimpliVity, and what it can do is just, showing you the topology, going and showing you the backup, the clone. I didn't move a VM, that was another one, but it's very similar to that clone. You can see in the actions is, hey, let's say the local cluster is back up. You can go down to SimpliVity actions and move that virtual machine. Oh, yeah, forgot to shut it down. Power off. That's why I couldn't delete this one earlier, because it was on too. All right. Go here, SimpliVity actions. And I can move that back to my local. So it'll take a little bit of time to move it over, but not that much. I think this is where typically you go in and show data store and just resize it. So I'm sure I don't need to do that piece of it. So any questions?
Nope. Please keep going.
All right, now I can delete it. So I'm getting used to all the click points in here. So I apologize, there were some hiccups there. Yeah, all done. You can see there that the other virtual machine is back up here and powered off. So I don't need that one anymore. And how long did that move take? Like 7 seconds or something, or my eyes are deceiving me. But under a minute, that you got that half a terabyte VM moved over back to the local cluster. And that is it. Close this out.
Awesome.
Kurt, do you have any questions or
Nothing
concerns or
specific.
anything?
Nothing specific.
Okay. So kind of like next steps. I mean, I know you're asking for some use cases on HP SimpliVity,
Yeah.
and also our vision on hyperconversions as part of the HP portfolio. So I'm going to put that as a reminder on my calendar,
Okay.
to kind of pull that
Do
and
you
get that.
at least know if you'll retain the name SimpliVity, or do you have a new
Yes.
P?
No.
Okay.
It'd be HP SimpliVity. Yeah.
Got it. Got it.
Not be
Okay.
changing the name. The only name change is at that acquisition of Plexi. They're going to change that naming to like composable fabric.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, so you got a total hyperconverged platform, the networking, the storage, and the compute, down into one compliance. And Plexi is going to have that same kind of plugin that I showed you with SimpliVity around the composable / Plexi. So one pane of glass to kind of control everything, and then that whole east-west communications with the VMs and the IT administrator being able to trace down to see where that interconnect is with the VM, kind of trace it, that blueprint of that VM and kind of where it kind of resides, the ports in it. It's pretty cool stuff. I'm learning about it myself, but the demo on that I believe would sell you on the solution itself, as well as any kind of bake-offs people do between our SimpliVity and the competitors.
Yeah.
SimpliVity wins. I mean, it's just a great platform. It's on our Gen 10 DL380, so definitely got the security and everything in there that you get from the DL380s today and our SimpliVity platform.
Mm.
So the Gen 10 offers 71% performance boost over our Gen 9,
Yeah.
20% more cores, 66% greater memory bandwidth. Those are the techie stuff there, the marketing stuff they throw in here,
Okay.
if you will. Travis, how was that?
Yeah, no, nothing from my end. I mean, my only question, I guess, Kurt, is I mean, as long as you're up for it, I'd like to definitely get that, more technical call scheduled. The week of the 7th, if you've got some time available that week. For not just for you, but anyone else on your team that you might want to have involved, and we can certainly do our best to cater the presentation to not just do kind of a standard technical deep dive, but answer any specific questions that you may already have, that's more specific to what you're trying to accomplish.
Sure. I mean, it's the recurring question of when we look at hardware refreshes, do we look at infrastructure in the cloud, or do we look at just refreshing unit by unit pass, or is this time to jump to something different, like yourselves or Nutanix or whoever? So that's kind of the crossroads that we're currently at. And I think, like I mentioned in the initial conversation, Travis, it's more exploratory. I believe we have the basics down because we, like I said, met with Natalie Cup about a year ago, and we've been having ongoing conversations with your competitors. So we kind of know the dynamics and the basics, and especially the mechanics of what hyperconvergence can do for us. So now it's more when we're ready to do a quote-unquote bake-off or some kind of a quote or some kind of a business justifications to the board. Now we got you guys, along with a couple of others that we may place in front of the committee for their recommendation or for their permission, I guess I should say. So that's kind of where we're at. And we have the 2019 planning completed. And this will probably start to kind of get some traction maybe middle to late January. And we also named our new CEO of the organization just yesterday. So that's going to also eat into that time frame as well, because now he needs to acclimate to our organization and New spending requirements mean he needs to understand why we're trying to do this. So, and he starts on February 1st. So it's gonna take a little bit of time, probably sometime in March timeframe, before anything serious happens. And again, I'm not using our CEO as an excuse here, but it makes sense. If we want to do our due diligence and be stewards of this organization, we want to make sure our new CEO is on board and kind of on the same page of what we're trying to do. So, just to be fair and respectful of everyone's time and your technical team's time, I think we're good with the demos and technical presentations for now. But like I said, next step will be once our CEO is fully acclimated or fairly acclimated, and I get a chance to educate him on our infrastructure strategies for 2019, then I think that's when we could realistically pull some triggers around perhaps more demos or probably more quotes and requests for information. That's kind of what I'm envisioning for 2019. So,
Okay.
So that's just to be transparent.
Yeah, and Kurt, just to
Sure.
keep in mind too, when we're looking to size things out, one of the things we want to do to just right size it. I mean, we can size a SimpliVity, and I'm sure the competitors can do it too on the RV tools. But one of the things that will give us the best sizing is using a landmark assessment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And those, we can get the data back in a week and size it on that, but we probably want that to run in your environment for about 2 weeks to get just a true size and just make sure we size it appropriately.
Okay.
Yeah. I hope it did okay, Kurt. I'm kind of the new guy on the team. If you have any feedback, feel free to send it over to me. Like I said, I'm always trying to learn here.
You're just fine. You just.
But yeah, I put a calendar. I'm out until January 2nd, but I put a calendar entry on my calendar to pull some data for you and send it. And I'll be sure, Travis, to copy you on that too. And Kurt, if I send you over something that go, hey, I want more on this, just send it over. I can always ask the SimpliVity business unit to kind of, hey, I need this information, or maybe we ask one of our SimpliVity customers if you want to talk to any of those guys, if they're willing to get on the phone.
Okay.
Yeah.
As far as the two organizations integrating, in your view, it's going fairly well?
With SimpliVity? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, most definitely. Yeah. In fact, we still have most of the team today in place out in the field that's just hyper-converged focused. So just SimpliVity, and then we have a separate team that's going SimpliVity / composable with our HP Synergy.
Okay, wonderful.
Yeah.
Okay. Excellent.
But we did have some attrition, obviously, with the teams when we acquired SimpliVity.
Oh, you mean on the SimpliVity side?
Yeah.
Which would be normal course of. Yeah, not surprising, because I'm sure you had some redundancies you have to mitigate.
All right, Kurt, Travis, if there's nothing else, it was great talking to you guys, and hope you guys have a happy New Year. And Travis, do you want to cover anything else before we disconnect?
No.
Okay.
No, I think Kurt, I'll just make a note and reach out to you again. Towards the middle of January. Just see where things are at, and if there's anything that you have in need of. And of course, between now and then, if there's anything I can do to assist in gathering information, fantastic. I'm happy to do so. But yeah, other than that, Kurt, enjoy the